Saturday afternoon, taking some time off to join the Salesforce community. I'd also personally like to thank Hamza. So Hamza, thank you for having me here today to speak about Salesforce Composer, Mulesoft Salesforce Composer. And particularly, I'm very excited to talk to you guys about this because this, interestingly enough, was one of the tools that brought to my attention, was very different from the rest, and it looks like it's going to help a lot of admins out in the future and the present. So, a quick agenda overview for today. We have 4 things to talk to you about, and we'll walk you through each one independently. So we have integration challenges and needs. I'll talk a little about that and why we need Salesforce Mulesoft Composer. And number 2, I'll also talk about why exactly Mulesoft Composer is a correct fit for this category. Other than that, we have some product features and a short walkthrough, so stay tuned. So moving on, just want to confirm before I carry on, am I audible to everyone? Is everyone, can everyone hear me? So just a quick check-in, guys. Am I audible to everyone? Could you just confirm before I jump in? Let me just go back in case we get any messages. Okay, so yeah, let me just go ahead and present. All right, so we have some integration challenges, and before we understand why we're using the Mulesoft, we kind of have to deep down and deep dive inside the world of other operations, and us as developers or architects have to kind of understand the challenges other people face in an organization. Now, having said that, what do I mean by that? So in an organization, there obviously is the sales off team, you have services teams, and obviously the HR teams. Now, each of them, and if you don't really collaborate with them very closely, if you would understand their problems in integrating, and it doesn't have to only do about integrating. It also relates to their other challenges with their everyday tasks, and some of the challenges that they face is integrating different systems together, or maybe they're waiting on their IT team to get back to them, and kind of let's just say take care of their IT tasks. So that in that way, that's very time consuming for their for their operations. That delays the entire workspace, and that slows down productivity. So that's one of the challenges that people face going on. Other than that, there is a small metric here. If you could see my slide there, it says 54% of the people are frustrated and challenged by stitching disparate systems together. So what does that mean? That basically means that let's just say there are different systems that they have to get in through. We have to enter data in Salesforce, and you need that same data updated in other systems. So having said that, they would obviously need to log in separately to another system and then update that data. So that's a very time consuming task, and obviously it's less productive versus having everything integrated. Let me just move on to my next slide here. So over here, I've outlined top 3 challenges as to why this is so important, right? Number 1 being security and compliance concerns. And now in an organization, I think this is the most important, because each organization is concerned about their security and how is that played out while taking up a new software. And every time a person or an organization purchases something, the data is obviously the most viable and valuable asset to them. So in this case, we have Salesforce, where we can have everything integrated within Salesforce, so that all the security concerns are taken care of. And everyone does know that Salesforce is one of the top platforms where security measures are taken care of very easily. A second is obviously inability to connect to different apps, like I spoke about in my previous slide. That's a very difficult thing these days in my personal experience working with different companies. I myself was obviously challenged into basically integrating different systems and designing them. So it's like a pain on our end and the admins and developers end as well. I know I'm including developers as well because uh, they do fit in there somewhere, but mostly it's about the admins, about the non-technical folks over here. This is a very, very big challenge. And lastly, obviously, technical skills, that is a given, right? So these three are the most important challenges faced by organizations today. And how does this, and basically what my previous slide was about is the challenges, but how do these challenges take care of themselves? And how would we know whether all these apps together would benefit the organization? What would we want from them? So the answer to that is we need something that integrates fast. We need something that is native. So native is the new name of the game, right? We're having everything within Salesforce, within Salesforce's own UI. So everything within Salesforce is obviously accessible to you. You don't really have to move away from Salesforce to go into another software to update that information. So this is one of the very big reasons why Mulesoft comes in. Leading to my next slide here, and I'm basically going to talk about why exactly, and let's get into the depths of this for you guys to understand clearly why Mulesoft, right? So where does Mulesoft come into this? So just going to give you a very big overview of why it does. So Mulesoft Composer comes in and it enables Salesforce admins to connect apps and data to Salesforce. It automatically integrates quickly, easy with clicks and not code. Just want to emphasize on that. We are not using code, we're using clicks. And this is why it's basically very accessible and easily used by admins and not developers, right? And the best part of it is it's all within Salesforce. So you can see here we have a small screenshot. Everything is within the MuleSoft Composer app, right? Everything is easily accessible. You can go in there and you can configure through a few clicks, which will easily integrate all your systems and stitch together, right? And this does produce productivity. Like I talked about productivity in my previous slide, where it's time consuming to actually stitch different apps together, logging into different apps. Whereas compared to this, your every app is, or every connector, I should say, is within one Salesforce UI and it's easily accessible. Some of the points here, we have also we can compose a 360 customer view faster. So what does that mean? So if we connect a single app to multiple systems or different systems connecting together with each other, we're creating a multi-dimensional system creation, right? And what does that do? That in Salesforce, in fact, you guys can explore that after this session. If some of you guys are interested in Customer 360 and Salesforce, it basically gives you an all-round view of your customer and gives you insights and metrics based on that. So it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool feature. Very excited about this. And lastly, I mean, you have integrations that produce your boost your productivity. And those are the integrations I'm talking about for the connectors. As you can see in my screenshot, you have the various connectors that you can integrate within each other. Moving on, some of the integration use cases. So some of you might be wondering, how is this actually applicable in our everyday day-to-day operations for admins? Well, I have some over here. So for example, let's take the first one here. You're streamlining your sales operations. Some people in the quote to cash or the CPQ solutions have a very, very difficult time updating two informations and keeping them up to date. That's where MuleSoft comes in, and it basically synchronizes every data point and automatically associates the quote to cash processes within each data stream and app. So as you can see here, we have NetSuite. It's integrating with Salesforce, and that also integrates with Google Sheets. Another example might be, maybe a team needs some notifications shot to them, right? They need constant updates. So for that, we have Slack, which is out of the box, and it's a pretty cool connector, which actually lets you connect different notifications and updates teams for various updates. So some teams might be using Slack a lot. I know some organizations use this tool for collaboration. So this is a pretty cool connector as well. And lastly, just another thing which is very self-explanatory, which is maintaining employee data. And this is a very common case in here globally, right? Employee data is obviously onboarding. You're getting a new employee in the company. You want them to go through the onboarding process. You find it very tedious to basically update their data in multiple systems. In some cases, obviously, big organizations don't only use one area for tracking the data. They use multiple, like Workday. We have Slack. We have NetSuite. So all of that is easily integrated through Salesforce. Uh, Mulesoft Composer. Hamza, do we have any questions in the chat, or should we just take some questions afterwards?
We can do that afterwards. But I cannot
Okay,
see any question.
sounds good. So, guys, if you have any questions, don't feel shy to post it in the chat. Hamza here, and I will get back to you with those questions and answers. So, I just really like to expand on what I meant by my first slide over here. We have the streamlined sales operations. This is an example which I'll really need to expand on so you guys can understand what does this mean. So over here, we have a life cycle. What does this life cycle tell us? Over here, this is a quote to cash CPQ solution, right? Where most companies, update their orders, their contracts, their pricing, and their products in different systems. Let's just say that system is NetSuite here in my example. And let's just say it's Google Sheets as well, because I know a lot of companies do use Google Sheets to maintain their price book data before uploading it in Salesforce. So let's just take the first one over here, import data confidently, right? So, like I said, it reduces manual errors of automating, and let's just say for price books and other contract data that can be integrated and uploaded into Salesforce very easily. There's a lot of human error mitigated, right, by this. So, and a lot of you who work with Google Sheets or Excel kind of know the pain of data cleansing and all that stuff that goes along with it. So with this, it's pretty simple. You just integrate both, and it gets imported in Salesforce if you want it both ways. That does get done as well. Just give you another example for simplifying the lead and account management. So it keeps your CRM across different divisions, geographies, and businesses in sync. Now, this is a very important point because in case you have multiple CRMs around and you need to import data and integrate data between two CRMs, this is very, very important and a very powerful tool that can actually have both sync together. So all in all, as you can see, there are different parts of this integration here. Each component has its own integration embedded in itself, right? So you have the lead and account management, you have the inventory management, you have the order to cash, and importing of data. So everything here uh, is done under one hood, under one UI, and it's pretty powerful. Moving on, just like to talk about the connectors that come out of the box here. So we have Salesforce, which is obviously we're using the MuleSoft Composer app within Salesforce. It connects with NetSuite. It also connects with Slack, Workday, etc. Right. So these are some of the connectors that come out of the box, and obviously this is progressing, and a lot more connectors will be coming out soon. um, and that's pretty exciting because some companies might need multiple other connectors to integrate their systems. So that's pretty exciting. You can also relate this or take this in a way that Zapier does their work. If anyone is familiar with Zapier, they have multiple apps connected to each other. But since that's not native, it's a separate tool altogether. Here, Mulesoft is actually having everything integrated into one platform, so it's pretty native. So let's talk about some of the product features that Mulesoft Composer offers. So within the MuleSoft Composer app, as you can see on my screen, I have a screenshot over here. There is a design phase that we can integrate with separate connectors and build logic around that. Now, one of the biggest things of how to get this up and running is you have flows. Now, I don't want to confuse you with Salesforce flows, because these are not actually Salesforce flows. These are MuleSoft's app. Now, you can't really say that it is similar to Salesforce flows, because it has its own UI, it has its own functionalities, right? So basically, the first step is to obviously connect with a connector, whichever connector you need. We log into that, and we build some logic around, where we need data to be picked up or dropped, or where we need data to be imported or exported, right? So you need a connector, and all of this is included in the flows section in MuleSoft Composer. Another thing is obviously the connectors over here that I talked about. We get to choose different connectors out of the box. Right now we have very minimal connectors over here. So I assume Salesforce is obviously working on this to build, and obviously MuleSoft is working on building various connectors to expand that horizon, right? So we can build and integrate with various connectors. And then we come to the verifying stage and testing, right? So when we build our integrations with the various apps and obviously Salesforce, we can obviously verify them and test them. All that data is coming to you in real time, right? So if there is an error, you get error messages. We get notifications, right? Your admin team can get notifications of where exactly this is happening, and we can go ahead and fix that. And this is very similar. Like I said, don't confuse it with Salesforce flows, but it's very similar functionality to Salesforce flows, where you get different notifications of debugging. So the other thing is, like I said here, and this is actually relating to my next slide, which is get automatically error alerts, like I just spoke about, and we can integrate this 24/7, right? So this never stops; it keeps running, and you can monitor. You can have a person, an admin, monitor all the results that are coming through. You can monitor the debug messages and the success integrations. So have a whole history of integrations, whether you have a successful integration or a failure. Everything is mentioned within the app. So it's pretty cool. Okay, so this right here is something that I'd like all of you to concentrate on. This is a very important part of of the flow, right? Like I spoke about just now. Basically, within MuleSoft, you have a series of actions. Now, you can take this as a project lifecycle, because I know it relates to that. It kind of looks like a project lifecycle, but this is a kind of native steps that Salesforce suggests you to follow in order to get the most successful results, right? And have your integration successful. So the number one is the plan stage. What does that mean? It means that you identify all the integrations and identify what needs to be done. Obviously, if you do not know what needs to be done, that really leads you to a different path of you integrating a software that you might not want to integrate with. And that also leads you to errors and inappropriate solutions, right? So, number one, you have to plan, you have to identify what exactly is your problem so you can connect to the correct app. The second, and also very important, is the design and testing, right? So when you build your flows, you add your logic, you add all your design points that need to go to different connectors and connect with multiple systems. You have to test that, right? So this is one of the most important things, which is testing, where admins and developers do forget, right? We sometimes build our integrations with multiple systems. I'm talking about actually high level coders who do build APIs and generate different data from different systems, they need to test it. So, and why it exactly is it important? So let's just take an example of you working on a huge ERP system where you have thousands and thousands of data trying to integrate with you with your Salesforce org, right? And let's just say you don't test it out. You just build the logic and he says, okay, it's working now. Let's go ahead and get it live. But what if there is an error? What is the repercussion of that testing phase not being taken care of? And I assure you there's a huge repercussion to that. There is a huge penalty because obviously there you're dealing with thousands of records at one time. You obviously are going to be in trouble if anything goes wrong. So I would advise you to, and obviously Salesforce advises you to test that out. Number three, after obviously designing and testing, you activate it, right? You go and activate the flow, and this is pretty self-explanatory. You go and activate it, and you say, okay, after testing, let's go and activate it and take it for a test run, right? So this is pretty self-explanatory here. And the monitor and troubleshoot stage, what does that mean? So as I said before, you have a whole history of success and error messages, right? You can see what are your debug points. You can go ahead and go entirely into your integration and pick up the points where it needs changes. So Mulesoft makes it very easy for you to do that. And I think the last stage is just deactivate. So if you have multiple flows lying around your system, you don't want that to take up an unnecessary space and confuse the rest of the admins working on it. You can just go ahead and deactivate it. So over here, we have, I'm actually come to the end of the slides. We have a short demo for you. Now, we were planning to have a hands-on demo, but unfortunately, MuleSoft does not come with a trial org, so we can't really test the app within Salesforce. But over here, we have a small demo for you to see how it works in action, and I'll just go ahead and play that. So just give me a minute here. Hi guys, I'm back. Sorry, I'm just having some technical issues. Am I audible to everyone right now? So just gonna go ahead and share my screen again. And so Hamza, if you're hearing this, could you just let me know if you can see my screen and let me know if you can see the video. So I'll just go ahead and press play. Okay, so let me just go ahead and press play. Is my video available? Just want to make sure before I play the video, so I'll just go back and check. So maybe one of you in the room can just let me know. Okay, you can see the video. I'm just gonna go ahead on full screen again, and hope you can see it. So I just got a message that you guys can't really hear the audio. Um, Unfortunately, I'm not sure how it's running. Hamza, any suggestions?
Yeah, you should be able to share the audio. Do you have your audio open of your laptop from your laptop?
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
So maybe if I could just run the video and you guys can view that if that works.
Yeah, you can do the voiceover if you want.
Sure. So right now they have a CPQ solution, and basically they need verification for the customer and whatever they need over here. So let's just see what he does. So basically, for non-developers or uh, non-technical people, this is where Mulesoft can help here, and there's an app within Salesforce. This is the integration screen and the out of the box. So this is the flow screen where we connect the connector and build. So this is an example of one of the CPQ updating products methods where he's building two integrations, one with NetSuite and one with Salesforce. And at the last, he's just updating their team with a Slack message. So there are on-screen instructions over here where you can see on the right, you can actually see when the actions take place, if it's successful or not. We have statuses and we have success messages. All of this has a guided click-through experience, right? So it makes it pretty easy for admins to understand. So this area here is the second path where he's connecting Salesforce to update Salesforce opportunity products, right? So you can see here, he has a logic here where he's basically updating opportunity products through an ID. So this is where he's just going to check that out. So the integration basically gets triggered on the negotiation stage. All the products or the opportunity products get integrated between NetSuite and Salesforce, where you can see the success. And this is where the Slack notification takes place. They notify the team that the basic integration has been taking place. So that's about it, guys. This is sorry about that. No hands-on demo, but this is all we could come up with. And thanks a lot for everyone listening. I do have some trails and modules that I'll post in the chat after this, and hope you guys go through it. It's pretty cool. You guys should check it out. And thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Hamza. Over to you.